to the March 9th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference. Please be patient. We'll do our best to be efficient and allow everyone to participate equitably. This meeting is also being broadcast and streamed online by FCTV in real time. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. The chair acknowledges the attendance and continued support of our entire staff, Jen, Melissa, Liz, Mark, Amy, and Kristen. We seem to be short one commissioner, so Pat, you are the appointed alternate for tonight. I'd like to remind you that for commenting, I'll call on each of you at the appropriate time. Let's try not to speak over each other, and their votes need to be done by roll call. When I call your name, state your name and your vote, even if you made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. The link and further instructions are located on the agenda. Also, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 regarding COVID-19 allows for full public participation. Therefore, if you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I'll call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled. Be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. And for those of you waiting for a particular hearing, and so you don't have to wait unnecessarily, the following hearings will be requesting a continuance: 27 Crosby Lane, 141 Fay Road, and 0 Quaker Road. All right, first up is vote minutes, February 16th, 2022. Anybody?
I move we accept the minutes as written, subject to any requested modifications this evening.
Second, Gladfelter.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. If there's nothing else. All right, Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Hawks, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes as submitted. Thank you, Kristen. Next up, requests for a continuance under the determination of applicability. Michael Ryan, 140 Associates Road, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a new Title V septic system and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen or Alyssa? Not sure.
I'll take that one, Lisa. Oh, shoot. Hang on, Mr. Chairman. Not on my A game right now. Mike sent me a continuance today. I'm just trying to find it in my email real quick. He is continuing. He is requesting a continuance until March 30th. We're reviewing the wetland line on Monday. Sorry about that.
So moved, Gladfelter.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this RDA until March 30th. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Hawks, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until March 30th. Next up, still a request for a continuance under an RDA, Christopher Rhodes, 7 Swift Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to repair and maintain an existing licensed seawall. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are requesting, the applicant is requesting a continuance until March 16th.
Bird, so move.
Harris, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until March 16th. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve? Steve, you're muted. Got it. Thank you. It is unanimous. We have continued this until March 16th. Next up, our request for a continuance under a notice of intent. Michael and Doralee Bingham, trustees, the Bingham Revocable Trust, 27 Crosby Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to modify the structure of an existing dock. Good.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until May 4th.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this notice until 5/4. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
Thank you. It is unanimous. We have continued this until May 4th. Next up, our request for a continuance to amend the existing order of conditions. Karen Alcott, trustee of Small Cottage Realty Trust, 141 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4540 to permit the reconfiguration of the proposed house and the proposed mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until March 16th.
Bird,
So moved.
move. And reason?
Tom didn't get around to doing the plans, Courtney, for this evening, so.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until March 16th. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat?
Harris, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until March 16th. Next up is a request for determination of applicability. First one's been continued, second one's been continued. That brings us to Heather Campion, 20 Sheridan Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to replace pilings and decking on an existing licensed timber pier. Ms. Bergeron?
Thank you. Yes, staff recommends a +3 under the statement bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed. I can elaborate.
Mr. Chairman, we promoted Dave Martin up. He'd like to address the board.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer, for doing that. First off, could you tell me why you're recommending a positive and what the benefit would be from filing a notice of intent?
The reason the staff is recommending a positive is because it's not just simple piling, a replacement of 1 or 2 pilings. It's all 8 pilings need to be removed and the entire deck, the dock is going to be rebuilt. And when we usually see rebuilds of docks, they're usually under a notice.
Mr. Chairman, could I make my case for a possible different outcome to the board?
Sure.
Could I share my screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Is that sharing sufficiently?
Yes.
Thank you. The site is at the entrance to Falmouth Harbor. As you're coming in from the water, and on the left, there's a constructed boat basin. It's completely armored throughout the entire shoreline. There's riprap, bulkhead. No sensitive resource areas are present that I'm aware of. We do have land under the ocean and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Those are the two resource areas present. It's a very small, excuse me, very small pier, 3 by 28. There's many of these small piers scattered throughout Falmouth that property owners construct and deconstruct on an annual basis without benefit of any permit whatsoever. So I guess I'm asking the board to allow my client once in 30 years to undertake that same activity with benefit of a permit. And shall I stop sharing?
Yeah. Dave, would you clarify that statement of they've been able to do what for 30 years without permitting?
I'm aware that there's many, this is a 3 by 28 pier. So it's quite small, 3 feet wide, approximately 28 feet long. It's not a large structure. It's very similar in size to all these seasonal piers that are scattered throughout Falmouth that are taken apart in the fall and reconstructed in the spring. So there's a construction activity twice a year to put them in place. As far as I understand, there's no permitting that takes place for that activity. And I would submit to the board that this activity is very similar, if not less invasive, because all of our work will take place with a boom truck, which will actually lift the pieces off, set them in the dumpster, and lift the new pieces in. There won't, and there's no sensitive resource areas here. Many of those small piers that come in annually go through quite sensitive resource areas. So I find that we have no risk that I can discover to the environment. And I can't understand what the benefit of filing notice would be. If the entire site is lawn and the entire shoreline is armored, I can't see what condition the board might impose to protect a sensitive resource area. If we had sensitive resource areas, I completely understand.
But you're replacing pilings. You don't do that when you remove the dock seasonally.
Mr. Chairman, when they remove the docks, all the pile systems and all the decking are removed from the site. And the next springtime, they're redug into the ground by hand. Considerably more activity than what we're doing. We'll lift the pilings out with a crane or a boom truck, set them in the dumpster, cut them in half inside the dumpster, and we'll put the piling back in the same hole. We're required under the terms of the state license to maintain the structure. That's all we're asking to do. We're not expanding, we're not making it taller, bigger, longer, anything. We just are bringing it back to a proper condition as required by the license.
All right, Jen? No.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I mean, the staff is standing by our recommendation of a positive. I mean, that the only, the benefit of having a notice filed is that the project would go to DMF. So if there was, or any time of year restrictions to be placed on the project, DMF would notify us of those time of year restrictions. Right now, DMF does not have the benefit of being notified under an RDA.
If that was the only concern, would I have the opportunity to continue the hearing to reach out to DMF, find out when they would like us to undertake the work?
Hold on, Betsy. All right, let's have some commissioner questions before we continue. Betsy?
Oh, Dave, I'm a little surprised you're saying there are no sensitive resources, since you have land under ocean, land containing shellfish, and the activity would be disturbing that resource.
Betsy, I guess my presentation meant to indicate there's no such thing, there's not things such as salt marsh, BVW, coastal beach, intertidal shore, those type of resource areas. So I'll rephrase that. Thank you.
Okay, and I had the same concern that Jen did as far as time of year restrictions. I mean, I know the Inner Harbor has certainly winter flounder, and there might be herring. Yeah, so DMF should take a look at it.
That sounds very reasonable to me. It's a small task, as far as I can tell.
I think Maury has a question too, Jamie.
Thank you, co-chair. Maury?
Would DMF, I mean, I've never honestly known that the applicant reaches out to DMF without a notice of intent. Would he be able to just ask DMF and come back with us with a time of year restriction? We've never.
How would you, you really aren't supposed to condition an RDA, so how would you condition the time of year restriction?
Sure.
I mean, the staff allows the replacement of pilings all the time in Falmouth Inner Harbor under an RDA. The issue was, this is not just a replacement of pilings, and it's 8 pilings, you know, and you know, we try to draw a line between, okay, 2 here, you know, maybe 3, but when you start getting up to multiple pilings, because you are working directly in resource area, this is not just the pilings, they're replacing the whole structure, they're building a whole new dock, which it's a good thing if they can maintain it. Just do it under a notice. That's all we're saying.
No further comment. Thank you.
All right. Courtney, are you still there?
Yes, I am, and I mean, I'm not sure, I don't have an issue if DMF were to say, look, this activity has to occur within a certain time frame. I don't see that as being problematic. So I know normally I exhibit a great deal of grumpage about things like this, but I think this is one of those situations where I think if we find out if there's a time of year restriction that's required, we find that out. And if there is, he has to conform to it. Go ahead and do it. I mean, because other than that, it's essentially maintaining what's there. And I realize that
It's replacing what's there.
the only concern I have on it is, and this would be the only reason why I would support a notice, is that are we going down a slippery slope?
Yes.
All right. Kevin?
I would second Jen's concern in that if in fact, and apparently it is a fact, that this activity goes on to some extent every year in any number of instances, the idea that we would be making an exception in this case doesn't appeal to me.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to belabor this, but Dave's argument that seasonal docks go in and out, I mean, Dave's making a distinction between tiny little seasonal docks with pipe pilings that sometimes have sleeves already in the ground, and in a permanent solid structure with 8, 12-inch or 10-inch pilings out there that need to be, you know, taken out with a barge and a crane and put back in. It is far more damaging than little pipe pilings that go into positioned sleeves. So the argument that, you know, people install seasonal docks, this is not a seasonal dock. This is a year-round structure on Falmouth Inner Harbor. Mr. Devaney, there's a Don Devaney in the audience, Mr. Chairman, that has his hand raised that wants to speak. I'm promoting him up to a panelist.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. We're not done with
Okay.
commissioner comments, so I'm going to continue with that first. Pat?
Just one comment. I think Jen makes an incredibly good point that you can't put conditions on an RDA. So if there is going to be a time of year limitation or any other kind of condition, it has to go through the NOI. So I'm with the staff. Nothing else.
Peter?
I agree with Pat and Jen.
Steve?
I'll follow Peter.
All right. Jen, public comments? Chat.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a Don Devaney that I promoted up as a panelist. He'd like to make a comment. Mr. Devaney, you need to take your camera off and you're muted right now.
A few questions, I guess. If you,
Don, can you identify the fact that you're the property manager, please?
Can you introduce yourself for the record, please?
Don Devaney, I'm the contractor for the project. Okay. Couple of questions. So if people are replacing pilings yearly in all these harbors around Falmouth, if there's 100 done in 1 year and there's 20 done the next year, what's the difference between 8 and 100? This is a licensed dock. We're putting pilings back in the same holes. Do you want us to put sleeves in the holes so we can replace them in 25 years or whatever it's going to take to rot them out? To go down the road of a notice of intent after having spent a lot of money to get the Chapter 91 license, now we're going to, inflict a lot of cost on the owner to file a notice of intent and the extended time. So I'm just trying to understand why would somebody, I guess, why is the vehicle in place for a Chapter 91 license? And that gives you the ability to repair your dock. And now you're asking us to do it again, I guess, is my question. It's just, it seems just so.
Chapter 91 and local regulations are two different things.
Okay.
I mean, you build a house, you get a building permit, right?
Yes.
Remodel or something, you still have to get another permit. And how do you put pilings back in the same hole without sleeves? I'd love to know how you do that.
You never use sleeves for piling. You use them for the little pipe piles, the little seasonal docks like Flax Pond.
Jamie, I can answer that question. To put a diver in the water, guides the piling into the hole.
So
The hole's not going to be there next spring.
When they lift the pile out with a crane, put it in the dumpster, pick up the new pile. When they've unlashed that pile, take it over to the hole. The diver is standing by the hole and he guides it into the hole. They don't want to drive a new pile. They don't want it
right back in the same hole.
They don't want it at a different location because it creates a whole new set of problems.
Are there any other public chat function?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so staff's recommendation is a +3, which would encourage the applicant to file a notice of intent.
May I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
We used to, back in the early days when I first got on this commission, and I think Betsy remembers this. We used to have a rule that if an RDA took more than 5 minutes, it was time to be an NOI.
Yeah, and you just added a minute to it, so let's move on. So I'd be looking for a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation, and then you can vote how you feel.
I make a motion that we go along with staff's recommendation.
Our
Second, Gladfelter.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Fellow Hawks eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
ask one more question, Mr. Chairman?
Nope. Closed.
Thank you. You've been great.
Next up, William Held Family Limited Partnership, 79 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to maintain an existing licensed seawall. Ms. Bergeron,
Thank you. Yes, staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
all right, I'm sensing a little lethargy there. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Fellow Hawks eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Jennifer F. Hoffman Jonas, 77 Old Dock Road Realty Trust 2, 77 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to maintain an existing licensed seawall. Ms. Bergeron,
Thank you. Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird,
I was so moved.
all right.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
I abstain.
all right. Pat,
Aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
All right, we have one abstention and we accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, Christopher Ramsdell Family LLC, 73 Old Dock Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to maintain an existing licensed seawall. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
that's what I like to see. All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
I abstain.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
All right, with one abstention, we accept staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, Michael O'Hara, 56 Patty Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove several trees and to prune branches. Ms. Bergeron,
Yes, staff recommends a -2 under the bylaw and a -3 under the state. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Power second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Fellow Hawks eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, David and Wendy Cushing, 90 Nantucket Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a half-story addition and install dry wells. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move. I assume
Sarah,
this is
second.
floodplain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question before we vote?
Yes.
What's a half-story addition?
Good question.
I'm not the one who evaluated the project, so I'm trying to recall from looking at the plan.
Well, I thought the contractors among our group would, Jamie or Courtney would explain to me what a half-story addition is.
Half-story, well, part of the issue is you have a height restriction in Falmouth, so it probably has to do with that. And it would be like raising the roof with dormers as opposed to a full second story, a new roof.
Oh, okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So it
I mean,
could be
you could-
two things at play there. I didn't see this house, so I don't know if the height came into play. In Falmouth, you have a 35-foot height restriction.
Right.
So,
No, I just thought
yeah,
it sounded a little odd.
You have to walk with your head bent.
Yeah. Or it's for all the little people. Just the little kids can be up in that story.
Right.
all right. Are you done bashing the homeowners now? All right.
No, it's probably going to be lovely. I'm ready to vote, though.
It's good to know. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
Parasite.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, Heather and Charles Campion, trustees, 0 Clinton Avenue, map 47C-08-029-137B, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install an osprey pole platform and support structure by hand. Ms. Bergeron,
Thank you. Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Second.
I think there should be a notice.
Oh, God.
Well, I
All
have a
right.
question. Is the pole going to be pressure treated or what?
You're up, Mark.
He's not even biting.
No, he's not.
So is there, what's the question, really?
Don't take him seriously.
Barbara Schneider, Peter, the pole and platform will be pressure treated. Barbara Schneider just put it into the chat.
Okay.
Put the mark up. All right. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat.
Parasite.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Joseph and Lucia Giangrasso, trustees, 140 Chappaquay Road, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install an osprey pole platform and support structure by hand. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Harris, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
I'm going to vote aye, but could I just make one question? We've had a lot of these osprey polls. Can they be done under administrative review so they don't take so much time? I mean, the.
Some of them are actually in resource areas, Maury, but it's something going forward. We can meet with the Osprey project kind of beforehand and see if we can't pick some of them off under an admin review.
Yeah,
We're
I
putting
mean,
it all in one big folder for the Osprey project, but since they usually are in resource areas and or buffered to resource areas, that's why they're under an RDA.
okay, thank you. Harlow Hawks Eye.
But I'll
Could they
see
be
what I
grouped
can do
together?
going forward.
Jen,
Yes, sir.
could these be grouped together?
We're trying to group them together. It has to do with, when they get permission from the property owners, and it also has to do with funding. Hang on,
Okay.
Barbara has.
No, it's
The
fine.
Osprey project would appreciate that, and thanks again for your support. So we'll work with the Osprey project and see if we can't kind of get them under an admin review if you'd like.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's just there's a lot of them lately.
No,
All right,
I'm-
continuing the vote. Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation.
Good night, Mark.
That's it? You should stick for the whole meeting, you know. I mean,
If you insist.
we're here for you.
Yeah.
You used
All
to do
right, be
that.
that way.
No,
Mark,
There's
go
something about
home.
staff's
All right.
continued support. I gotta take a name off of that. All right.
Thank
Moving
you.
on, continued request for determination of applicability. Elaine
you all.
Griffel, 10 Rawson
Good night, Mark.
Lane,
Good
East
night,
Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove an existing patio, to pour a cement patio, and to perform minor regrading.
Yes,
Ms.
Mr.
Bergeron.
Chairman. Sorry, it's me.
Pardon
The
me.
applicant is requesting a continuance until April 27th. They're in line to get a surveyed plan.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Birds,
Harris, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this. Make sure I got the date right, 4/27. That's far out. Okay. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until April 27th. Next up, requests for hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Barbara Good Toohey, trustee, 15 Rock Street, nominee trust, 15 Rock Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct an addition, remove a section of pavers, and install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm attempting to promote Tom Bunker up. Tom, you have to do something on your end, I think. There we go.
Good evening.
Is there anybody
Bunker?
else promoting up, Tom, or is it just you?
This is just me.
Okay, excellent.
All set to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We surveyed this property at 15 Rock Street in Silver Beach for the Good Family, 15 Rock Street Nominee Trust. If I may, I will share the screen and show you a few pictures and plans.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, see what I have here?
Yes,
Okay, picture one, this is on the GIS map, just to give you an idea of where it is. This is the property outlined in yellow here. It's on Rock Street, which is a short road that runs southeast from Silver Beach Ave, parallel to the shore of Wild Harbor, which is this water body here. As you can see, it's right on the beach. I can tell you this whole row of houses here is in one velocity zone or another. It's VE elevation 18 to at least the back of this house here, and then beyond that, zone VE elevation 17 beyond Rock Street. So this whole area is in the velocity zone. And so this is one plan. We have a velocity zone, but I do not show the Falmouth velocity zone. Where should I go first? This is just a street view of the property as it is now. As you can see, there's in this view, there's a driveway going down below the house here, driveway going up, a large paved area. There's a fire pit in the front of the house, and the beach and the shore are out beyond there. So we did the survey, and then as I started looking into it, I came across this Google Street View, which showed that there used to be more lawn area and some trees in the front of the yard. And so see what I can pull up here. This is our CAD file superimposed over the aerial photo. Traced on this line right here. You can see the shadow of some trees here, and there's a shadow of a fence. So traced on and calculated this area right here is new coverage. This whole area here is basically patio blocks, which seem to have been done in the last 10 years or so. But there was, this lawn area was larger, as you can see in that previous photo, up into this area, and also a lawn area here, and then some trees in this location and trees in this location. Show you a little more of the resource areas. We have Wild Harbor, which is part of Buzzards Bay, land under the ocean, land subject to tidal action, coastal beach, coastal bank. This is along a seawall in this location. And then this entire area is a brick patio, concrete on this property, concrete on the property to the north, but it's continuously paved along the water between the seawall and the house. And so when we surveyed it, this entire area here was paved, parking, patio, whatever you might call it, and the driveway going downhill. So first when we started, I thought, oh, this is an easy one. We're putting on an addition, but it's all on paved area, so there's no mitigation planting to do. But then we found the extra paving that was installed, which we had calculated as about 434 square feet. So what we've done on the calculations is that this addition is over existing paved area. We've, out of the 434 square feet of unpermitted paving that was put in here, we're proposing to remove an area of paving here. It's 113 square feet right here. So then we're left with 321 square feet of impervious surface, which this is all in a zone B, since the zone A, the closest zone A to this is the 50-foot zone A for the coastal beach and bank right along the back of the house. There's 50 feet land subject title action here and 75-foot zone A of land under a water body. So from the back of the house back is at zone B. This paving that was put in was in the zone B. Anyway, there are 321 square feet of new old paving. So we double that to be 642 square feet of mitigation required. And so we've put in the 600, so this lawn area, we take out the fire pit, and there are 2 benches to take them out, plant this lawn area, but there's a small 58 square feet left of lawn area right here in the middle. So this area of planting, which will be basically beach plum and bayberry. This lawn, not coming within 10 feet of the house, will be planted up. And then another small bit along the property line, beach plum and bayberry over here also. Because there are these 5 cedar trees here, we're proposing 5 cedar trees back in this location also. The addition rather is in a velocity zone, but it's 190 square feet, which is under your 200 square feet allowed in a velocity zone. So we believe that meets the requirement. This area here, which will become non-paved, will be planted with beach grass in this location. Staff did not suggest that we not plant beach grass, that we in this mitigation area, that we put in the shrubs only. And if beach grass is wanted later to fill it in, then we could get that with perhaps an RDA to put beach grass in there. Staff also commented on the sharp-eyed Alyssa noticed that there was a change in the deck. Looks like it's a little L-shaped there, and it's straightened off here, and absolutely right. That is what it looks like, but that what looked like a larger area of deck was actually these, how they sometimes would build benches into a deck that lean away from the deck, and this has a wide top on it. So it back in 2011, it had this bench attached to the deck at that time, and they at some time after 2011 they did rebuild the deck, so it did change. Alyssa was right, but now it does not have the bench on it. So the bench was actually taken off. So we could say that actually reduced the coverage a little bit, but now it's a vertical railing and no longer has the bench leaning over, make it look in the aerial photograph as though it's a larger deck. That's what I have for now. That's the proposal to do that work, and I'll take the share down and answer any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tom pretty much covered the staff's comments. The only other comment I have to make, and I don't know if this was addressed, is I don't think planting 20 square feet of native mitigation planting shoved between 2 driveways or parking areas is the appropriate place for mitigation. I mean, I understand what the property, what Tom is trying to do. There was this patio that was put in without the benefit of a permit. They're trying to mitigate for it. But the plantings are supposed to create some sort of wildlife habitat and buffer zone, and that 26 square feet is doing neither of those things. So I'd like to see those incorporated somewhere else into the larger plantings. Other than that, that's all I have besides what's been said, unless Alyssa has anything to add.
I just had one thing I noticed for the proposed cedars. I would just recommend that the mitigation isn't planted directly under the cedars because the canopy will wire and has to shade on them.
Yep.
Can take the, I did leave that little lawn area there so we can move the mitigation into that lawn area where the fire pit is now and will be removed from the mitigation that, between the two driveways. And, we could spread it out. We did these calculations intentionally leaving some lawn area in case there had to be some changes with the mitigation. So we could spread that out to fill in that entire area and move some of the mitigation away from the cedar trees.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. Anything else? All right, Betsy?
I have no questions. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Jamie.
Courtney?
I don't have any questions.
All right, Kevin? Maury?
I just had a couple questions on those aerials and the photographs. There's a shower stall that wasn't on the old photograph, so that looks like that was also illegally installed or without a permit.
I would have to look again. I'm not
Okay.
on the back.
It just seems like there was an awful lot of unpermitted work here. And, I understand that you're putting the 200 square feet or 190 on concrete. I'd like to know how much of all of that was permitted as well. We're trying to really shove an awful lot. None of the mitigation is being close to the resource. It's on a road. The beach grass mound, I'm hoping that's not included in mitigation, is it?
It's not.
Okay, so it's just as Jen said, the little one over by the driveway. Both of them are just, the two little pieces are just crammed in. You really don't have enough space to mitigate. So I understand it's a concrete pad that's there that's impervious, but now we're putting structure in a V zone. And I want to also we make sure that there's a finding, because this obviously looks like there's been a lot of unpermitted work over the years, that in the finding that there is no more expansion because you've already taken the last bite of your apple. And I think you've probably taken a few more, but that one we know of. That way there's, we're not going to see 2 stories on it, the outdoor shower, a generator pad. You have no more room left. You have 10 square feet. So there's no sheds, there's no adding a little parking spot. And unfortunately, I go by these that we do all this all the time, where there's that 100, the 200 square foot, and you go by and 10 years later, there's a parking space there, there's a patio, there's a fire pit, that all starts to become cumulative again. And that's why when we have too many findings and too many special conditions that we can't police. But I really am not happy that I understand the whole front's concrete, but mitigation planting out on a road is not close to the resource. It's really not. You cut the trees down. I'm just not really impressed with this project. Thank you.
Yeah.
No questions, thank you.
Peter?
No questions. Thank you.
Steve?
Yeah, it's a very interesting site, and I've never seen quite that much coverage with the getting the mitigation is going to be interesting, but I think Tom offered a good solution, so I think this will be fine.
Mm-hmm. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
And then I have a question, Jamie, afterwards.
Nothing in the chat, Mr. Chairman.
See?
So Tom, does this have to go before ZBA?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Thanks.
The hearing is coming up in about two or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Jamie, I had one quick question. Is this on sewer, Tom?
Yes, it is.
And where's the sewer line?
It is, the sewer main is shown out there. We probably don't show the actual sewer connection. But it's,
It should.
oh, no, we do. No, we do. I'm sorry. It's right in great. If you look at on your plan where it says Rock Street, right toward the last T in Rock Street up, there's an S line. It goes up through the lawn area. Just
Right,
to the
yeah,
north
just
of that.
stops. Okay. All right, just so that's protected.
Yep.
All right, folks, what are you thinking?
Jen, can the changes in mitigation, can that be on a plan, or do we want to see it on a plan?
We can condition the plan. I mean, all Tom's doing is taking away that little fire pit and lawn area and moving his mitigation into there. So if the board thinks that's sufficient, that's easy enough for the staff to review and require on the plan.
Okay, well then I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
For second.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions? All right. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Next up are continued hearings under a notice of intent. First up, Kevin Cusack, 380 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a fiber roll system, restore a coastal bank, conduct invasive species management, and enhance the buffer to the coastal bank. And Betsy, I don't think this was open, correct? So,
It wasn't.
okay. So, Jen?
Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Mike Borselli and Teresa Sprague up to present their project.
All right. Mr. Boselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Mike Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant along with Teresa Sprague from Blue Flax Design. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
There's two plans associated with this. There's the general survey plan that you see before you, prepared by our office, and then the more specific detailed plan showing the proposed work prepared by Blue Flax. So the property is located on Edgewater Drive East. It's a single family dwelling, typical landscape and yard areas. The resources of note, starting from Eel Pond, land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. There is a finger-like projection of beach grass here. There is a little bit of the tip of some salt marsh that goes off the page in this direction. There's a sandy coastal beach here. And then, of course, there's the reason we're here, which is a relatively low profile eroding coastal bank. I neglected to label land under the ocean and land containing shellfish. So I'm happy to give you a revised plan with those resource areas noted on here. So I apologize for that. I also have on this drawing the existing conditions cross sections of the bank that's eroding. These are used by Blue Flax to design the Coir fiber roll array design, which is detailed on the plan by Blue Flex Design. There is a proposed construction access leading from the driveway through the site. And the specifics of the access and the means and methods of doing this would be described by Teresa. There are a couple minor comments in the staff report, which I think we can easily answer. I think that's really all I have to say. The site was staked. I hope you were able to see that. And I'm going to turn it over to Teresa. And we're both here after that to answer questions.
Thanks, Mike. Teresa?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flex Design here on behalf of the Cusack family. With your permission, I'd like to just share my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so I believe you're looking at a copy of, or the PDF of the actual 5-roll plan with the proposed invasive species management and additional lawn removal to improve the vegetated buffer to the top of the coastal bank. Existing conditions on the site, we've got mainly lawn leading up to the area that's shown in the lighter green, which is the existing vegetated buffer. Throughout the lawn, canopy trees punctuate the area. They include pitch pine, oak, and eastern red cedar. The southern property line shown here is comprised of mainly all native vegetation, while the vegetated buffer to the coastal bank contains a mix of invasive and native vegetation. The native vegetation located along the southern property line here is mainly sassafras with bayberry, beech plum, inkberry, holly, and oak trees. As we start to move from south to north, the native vegetation is mainly located in the southern portion. We've got limited invasive cover in the southern portion, about 30%. That increases to 50 to 60% as we move further north. And then as we get to the northernmost portion, we're at almost 100% invasive vegetation within this area that we're proposing to restore. As Mike pointed out, we've got an eroding coastal bank, and I'll share some photos of that. We provided some sections. We went back after Mike had done his initial survey, and the erosion has actually gotten quite a bit worse over the past several months. I'll share some photographs of what we're witnessing here. I believe you can see the photograph of the scarp where you can literally stick your arm all the way up to your shoulder into that area. Looking down the bank, we can see that the erosion, again, the northern portion of the bank, not as heavily eroded. As we move south, we've got more erosion happening here. And this is another image, kind of looking from the north towards the southern portion of the bank. So you can see there's a significant amount of scarp happening within these areas. Let me see. The access route that Mike was pointing out and that we're showing on our access plan on pages 5 and 6 of our land management plan, page 5 of our land management plan shows that we'll be staging everything in the driveway area, and the machinery will track from the driveway area, will tie up the branches of the eastern red cedars, protect the trunks of the trees, and move the equipment down onto the beach at this northern portion. Mike is showing that as an area of brush. There's some stone, there's some debris in here. It's the lowest portion of the bank where the equipment will access and then move along the bank, and the fibril installation will start at the southernmost portion of the bank and then move its way north. So as part of the fibril installation, we'll be doing some excavation and some minor regrading. We're showing the top of coastal bank will be located at elevation 5.8, I believe will be the top of the coastal bank once the fibrils are installed. We'll start with excavating the material, putting it down on the beach. That will basically create our roadway and ramp. We'll have silt fence on the seaward side of our access point. Once the fiber rolls are installed, we'll be working our way again south to north. The sand will be removed and put back up over the fiber rolls. So that will be returning the beach back to its current elevation. We don't anticipate that we're going to need to bring in a lot of material in order to cover the rolls. We feel that confident that most of the material will remain on site. We'll simply excavate it, install our fiber rolls according to our plan, and then recover with the existing sand on site. Once the fiber rolls are recovered with the sand, they'll be planted with beach grass. We'll be planting high salt marsh grasses at the toe of the bank, Spartina patens, Distichula spicata. In the southernmost portion, we'll be planting some baccharis, trying to get that high marsh reestablished in this area as best as possible. After the fiber roll installation is complete, then the slope will be planted with beach grass, and the top of the bank will be planted with native shrubs. Invasive species will be selectively removed. Native vegetation will remain intact, and then we'll be filling the gaps again, south to north, fewer gaps on the southern portion, and then we'll be pretty much restoring the entire area as we work our way north. We're proposing to remove approximately 460 square feet of lawn and plant that area out with native shrubs to create a more robust vegetated buffer. So we're not dealing with water coming over the top of the bank, as well as the additional, as well as the scarp from increased tidal range. We're going to be using 2 rows of high density fiber rolls at the base, at the toe of the bank, and then using low density rolls that we can plant directly into at the top courses. The total array is about 90 feet long. We'll return as we hit to the southern portion, and then return at the existing open pathway on the northern portion. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the proposed fiber roll installation or the invasive species management and restoration planting.
Thank you, Teresa. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mike, on your plan, just one thing that I just quickly noticed and Alyssa noticed, you have a property boundary on that? Is that just from accretion over the years, that area beyond the property boundary?
Yes, surprisingly, at times there's accretion. It depends on the dynamics of the area. There's been a couple sites I've worked on the Edgewater Drive East side, and that does happen from time to time.
Okay. And sorry, Teresa, did you address where the area of there's brush that's being removed to create your access area on the north side of the property, and it didn't appear to be redone? If you addressed that already, I apologize.
No, that's okay. So we'll be putting down alternamats, plastic mats, to bring the machinery over this area and then down along the beach. So there's some grasses in here that will be protected. Anything that needs to be replanted, there's an existing path. It's mainly leaf debris and some other debris, and there are some stones in there. We're not proposing to clear or do anything in that area, but we'll be replanting it.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have, unless Alyssa has something to add.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Steve.
Thank you. I happen to be a little more than normally familiar with this site and the owner, and he's a general contractor, and his work is this is very important to him, as it is to us, I believe, that he does this properly. And I think this is a good design and a good plan. Thank you. I don't have any questions.
All right. Peter?
No questions.
Pat?
I agree with Steve. Looks like a good project. Thank you.
Maury?
I just had one question. It's a nice project. I think it's definitely needed. Oh, muted. Yeah. The only question I had is the cedar trees that are on the right close to the route there, the construction route. Could you just put that screen up again? Because I see you have a 15-inch and a 12-inch. I think it's a construction route one. No, the real photograph.
First of all, I'll unmute. Yes. Oh, my
The real photo. A good picture.
Let's see. I think
This one, the one with the check. No, you showed it to us only because where your lawn is going to be removed. Yeah, those two.
Yeah.
And you're going to be removing lawn and planting under them. And I'm just concerned that you just don't disturb the roots and, I mean, go outside of that or something. So those two don't get disturbed. But other than that, yeah.
Yep, thank you, absolutely. And so we'll be tying these upper branches and then matting this. So we use low ground pressure equipment. We'll be trying to no disturbance of the soil in this area. So just minor to plant around and create a larger vegetative buffer.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thanks.
Kevin?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Teresa, is this something that your company does? The coil rolls?
Yes.
Fiber rolls?
Yes.
Thank you. Courtney?
No questions.
Betsy?
Well, nice project, nice presentation.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, no hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
I make a
Thank
motion
you.
to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
After second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy,
Filter aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat, nine.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you. And I'll submit a revised plan in the next couple of days that just label those resource areas I didn't label.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Next up, Town of Falmouth, various waterways and beaches, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to re-permit the comprehensive permits for the Town of Falmouth's 31 dredging and beach nourishment projects. Sufficiently vague, like that. And Betsy, I have the quorum as everybody.
Betsy,
Correct, Jamie.
Thank you. All right.
Mr.
Leslie,
Chairman,
you're
I've
up.
promoted Leslie Fielder.
Leslie, you're up.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we requested a continuance last time we were before the commission. So to give us time to coordinate with the folks at Webner and DCR regarding a portion of the dredging at the Eel River that would impact the spit at the western end of Washburn Island. We have made that contact with the people at Webner and DCR. They are still reviewing the information. I do not expect an answer from them right away in terms of whether or not we're going to be given permission to do the work. So what I had suggested, rather than holding this permit up to wait for that we have some sort of a condition in the order that says that work between stations 10 plus 50 and 11 plus 50, right in the area where the spit is, it is contingent upon the commission receiving, proof of authorization from DCR. So that's one thing. I guess one other thing I did want to just bring up in response to some concerns up in the Megansett area is I wanted to make it clear that we're not proposing to put any material dredged from Bourne waters on Megansett Beach. And if at the time the town decides to do dredging in McAnsett Harbor, if that beach there is already at such an elevation to where it doesn't need sand, then that material would just simply be placed on the beach to be dewatered and then taken off site. So we don't intend to, put more material in there that would then be windblown back into the harbor and would exacerbate shoaling. So I just wanted to make that clear for some of the neighbors that had objected to that portion of the project.
All right. Anything else, Leslie?
That's all I have.
Okay. Jen?
I don't have anything to add, Mr. Chairman, only that we can condition that the spit not be altered in any way until we get permission from DCR.
Okay. Alyssa, do you have anything to add?
I do not. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to poll for comments anyway, just to be complete. Peter?
No comments.
Okay. Pat?
No comments.
Maury?
Just to make sure that they're on top of the time of year restrictions. That's all. Thank you.
Kevin?
No comments.
Okay. Courtney?
No comments.
Betsy?
I just have a comment. Thanks to Leslie and Jen and the waterways working. This is quite a feat to put all this together, and it really is really very helpful.
A lot to it.
Mm.
All right. Steve?
Yeah, that was my thought. I wish we could share this with more people. It's impressive what we go through to maintain our beaches.
It really is. All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Jamie,
Yes.
I just had one question. Jen, we all have these beautiful 5-inch thick books. Does anybody that's doing any of the work need these back so that they have them? Because it's just so much information, or keep them at waterways or something. Or, I mean, I just, I'm not going to save it. It's just so expensive, and it's such a great document that it would be nice if it could be available maybe to other people, that we could leave them at Concom for people to look at if they're interested. I don't know. I just hate tossing it.
I wonder if the
Thank you,
library would
Lori.
take
We
them.
have had requests for copies of these, so we might actually put one in, I don't know, keep a couple at town hall. So if you want to return it, we'll make sure it goes to good use.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with you, Jamie. I think the libraries might like to have it too. People like to look at this stuff.
Especially with all the coastal work that everybody, all these, committees have been doing. I mean, this is like the holy grail.
Yeah, and as Steve said, people are interested in this.
Can I just take mine to East Falmouth Library and drop it off?
Sure, Steve.
And I'll put mine in West Falmouth.
I'll put mine in the main one. I'll be there tomorrow anyway.
Well, there we are.
All right. Maybe we
So-
should require like certain caliper inch for every page of application. No, that didn't go over too well a few years ago either.
I'll
All
make a motion. I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Made a motion to shut Jamie down. All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawk's Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Leslie.
Night. Have a good night, everyone.
Leslie.
You as well.
Night, Leslie.
All right, next one has already been continued. Next up, William F. Solanini Jr., 0 Quaker Road, Lot 001A, 002, West Falmouth, Mass. for permission to construct a new single-family dwelling and install a new Title V septic system with all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, what was that? Which one were you on? Jimmy, I'm sorry.
0 Quaker Road.
Deer Quick Road, they are requesting a continuance until March 30th.
How many continuance?
Well, they haven't started.
They haven't started, Courtney, but this is the second one, and this is the one where you were in my room talking to Tom about, so.
Okay. All right.
The second continuance.
It's actually the third, Jen.
Oh, 30, just, yeah.
Okay, so when is it?
March 30th.
I'll so move.
Or a second.
Right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until March 30th. Is there any other comments or questions? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Fellow Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until March 30th. Bear with me one second. All right, next up, request to extend the existing order of conditions. First up, Betty Watanabe, 8 Bridge Street, East Falmouth, Mass, DEP number 25-4359, requesting a 1-year extension.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we recommend the 1-year extension.
Or so moved.
Does it work?
All right, I got the motion. I didn't get the second.
Fellow Hawks second.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to grant the 1-year extension. Questions?
Work started yet?
There's a lot of work going on down there, Courtney. I don't believe so on this one. This is the one next to the one on the corner.
Yeah.
They might have cleared a little bit already, but I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to grant a 1-year extension. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Fellow Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next up, F.W. Eaton, Qualified PR Trust, care of Francis Eaton, 161 T-Ticket Path, East Falmouth, Mass, DEP number 25-4182, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen?
Technically, he's requesting a 3-year maintenance extension. That's what this letter says. So this is the core fiber rolls. They do need to be maintained. So I would recommend a 3-year extension.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Second, Gladfelter.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to grant a 3-year extension. Questions or comments? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve. Thank you. It is unanimous. We have granted a 3-year extension. Next up, continued request for an amendment that's been continued. Therefore, continued hearings under an enforcement order William T. Dowling Jr., trustee, Venus Realty Trust, 6 Scallop Cove, East Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted removal of vegetation within conservation jurisdiction. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Nate Goshgarian up from Holmes McGrath and Maria Hickey. We did meet with them on site to review. The whole site was flagged appropriately so we could tell where's Nate? Man, I should probably wait for Nate.
No, it's Nathan.
Nathan. So
He was
we
promoted to
just
executive
asked
vice
that they
president.
flag. This is the one that was a tremendous amount of clearing, tree work done right, not only in the buffer zone, but in the BVW, adjacent to a salt marsh. Understory was removed, so they Holmes McGrath and Maria Hickey did go out. They pin flagged where all the stumps were. They staked where all the new trees were going to go. So we could get a visual of what was going to happen. And more importantly, the property owner could get a visual of what was going to be restored. And so they are here to kind of present that. And I think we've come to a point where we can issue a enforcement order and get the project moving forward.
Ooh. Nate, you're up, sir.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Chairman. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so permission to share my screen, please.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Oh boy, here we go. Oh man. Okay. So I don't think I can actually share my screen on this computer.
Nate,
But,
did you send me that plan?
I did a few weeks ago. The one I believe Jeff sent you the plan that showed the trees to be replaced.
Okay, hang on.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. It's just going to take me a minute. So Jeff sent it to me.
Yep. But yeah, but like Jen said, we basically marked the trees or the stumps rather to be replaced or removed. And the trees that will be planted, it comes to about 16 or 17, and that's all adjacent to the BVW. It's upslope of that. And actually Maria's gonna kind of go over the details in terms of species selection and density. If we can promote her, please, once we get
right here.
Maria's here.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. For the record, Maria Hickey and Associates Landscaping, coming in live from vacation at the Cayman Islands. And if any of you have not been here, you should come and go to Queen Elizabeth's Botanical Park. It would blow your mind. So anyhow, back to 6 Scallop. Nate and I have had a few meetings on site, and we went through and we marked with pink flagging all the stumps from the trees that were cut down that we are asking permission, and conservation staff was on board to have us remove the stumps. So that will free up room to plant new trees, and then for us to plant an understory. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So the objective is to remove the existing stumps that are like maybe an inch or so out of the ground, and there's no hope for those trees to regenerate. So once we remove those stumps, we will plant our 16 new trees, which we already have put stakes in to indicate where they'll be. And again, we met with Jen and Alyssa out there, and they were on board for this. The understory that we're going to plant, in addition to the trees, which are going to be red maples and white oaks, we're going to plant viburnum, bayberry, clethra, winterberry, and high bush blueberry. And those will be planted in a staggered formation, 3 feet on center, 2 and 3 gallon size plantings. We would like to get this project started as soon as we can. Obviously, with the cool weather, if we can get the stumps out, get it all set, and then immediately plant. And that gives us the best chance for the native landscape to not only survive, but to thrive. And we believe this will successfully revegetate this area that was stripped of its trees. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Jamie, I can have the plan up if you want me to share my screen real quick. I know it's been a while since the board has done this, seen this.
Please.
Let's send us a plan so we all have it.
Yeah, this is just a schematic that we use. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is just the schematic we use. This is the one I could pull up, Nate. Sorry, real quick.
Yep, perfect.
So this was the area in question. These are all the stumps that were marked in the field, and the green dots indicate where the tree replacement's going to go. We have salt marsh over here. We have BVW right here, and then this is the buffer in the coastal bank. And then this is the area that's going to be, so again, the green dots are the trees that are going to be replaced. The X's right here are the stumps that are going to have to be removed to get the new trees in. And then the buffer is going to be replaced. So we'll basically be drafting an enforcement order. If the board wants to vote that tonight, you can. We'll need to, or we can just vote it next week and we'll come up with a time frame to get everything in if you prefer.
Okay. You guys comfortable with the plan?
Yes. Yes.
Looks good. Come a long way. All right. Comments? All right.
No, I'm ready to move that we issued the enforcement order, but I guess Jen has to give us some guidance on dates, times.
So Jenny, were you suggesting that we close this and then vote next week?
We can do that. That way I can look at the calendar and come up with a time frame. I know Maria's eager to get in there and start, but she can't start from the Caymans. So I think it's fine if we just vote it next week and we can try to turn it around fairly quickly for them, so they can start work.
We need not to take any action at this point.
Nope, just close the enforcement order. We'll put it on next week to vote.
I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close this this hearing. Any comments or questions? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a nice time, Maria.
Thank you so much.
Have fun.
All right, I
That's
will.
dedication, man. Another reason we need Zoom.
Right?
All right, next up, Kevin Cloward, the second trustee, 18 Willis Lane, nominee trust, 18 Willis Lane, East Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted removal of mitigation and restoration plantings associated with Mass DEP number 25-4099. Ken?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can you table this until after we vote the orders of conditions?
Okay,
Make a motion to table this.
Bird second.
Our second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to table this. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have tabled this. Hey, Jen, procedurally, are we compelled to take these in the exact order they're on the agenda?
No.
No.
I just wonder why, couldn't we have just skipped it? I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just curious.
No, you're not unless you have a time which is why we don't put a time next to it. When the Board of Selectmen do like a wetlands dock hearing, if it's at 7:30, if they
Right.
get to it before 7:30, they have to take other stuff before that hearing because it's advertised at a particular time. Ours isn't, so our agenda's ours.
Okay. All right, I mean, it's probably just as well anyway for the formality.
We like to
All
be.
right, Next up, vote order of conditions. Mark W. Comstock and Margaret A. Fitzgerald, 29 Miami Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. The quorum I have is everyone.
Correct. Trying to find the plan. Sorry, isn't it? Oh, this is the raise and rebuild with the mitigation, and then Alyssa had the concern about the tree under the wires, but Tom said they were probably most likely going to bury the wires. So anything else? I don't think there was.
They were going to add a tree too, also, correct?
Yeah.
I think they have to add 2 trees. I think this is the one that they needed a tree. They have to add a tree for a tree that was missing, and they have to add a tree as part of the mitigation.
Okay, that's fine.
It was a total of 3. Right, two trees and protect.
2 trees plus 1, 3.
Yeah.
3 trees, Jen.
3 trees. Got it. 3 trees.
Anybody have anything else? Alyssa?
Also, Tom could not find in the record that the shed had been permitted. So if it's contributing to the impervious surface calculation, we'll need to recalculate that and potentially mitigate more.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Good catch.
Can you just put that in as a condition, Jen?
Yep, I am.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed with all these little details added.
Second.
All right, if there's nothing else, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions as discussed. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Fellow Hawks eye.
Pat?
RSI.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Thank you. Next up, Wild Harbor Estates Homeowners Council Trust, 0 Birch Lane, map 04-14, parcel 000-198, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is the kayak rack in the dune area that was altered.
Hold on one second, please. Quorum, Betsy?
Courtney, Betsy, Jamie, Peter, Pat.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Jim.
Yep, so just the kayak rack, the dune area had been altered, unfortunately, over the past few years. And this is where they'd like to put the kayak rack. And there was a lot of discussion. Obviously, the staff recommends that the dune go back and they find another place for the kayak rack. And there was a lot of discussion about various locations and alternate locations they could put the kayak rack. And ultimately, this is their most desired location. And then they propose to interplant the existing dune area with beach grass, which we feel if they just leave it alone, it'll be fine. But that is for the board to decide.
It's the operative word, leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
May I make a comment, Jamie?
Absolutely.
So I went back to look at the revised plan. And there's really no dune delineation on that plan. They don't mark where the edge of the dune is, and Mr. Hussey kept referring to it as a sand flat, but we don't have a resource that's a sand flat. It's either a beach or a dune, and this is an area that was a dune. It was a vegetated dune. But I just want to point out that if this passes, the plan has to be resubmitted, showing the accurate dune delineation.
Okay.
So Jen, if this doesn't pass, would it become an enforcement order to restore that dune?
Yes.
You'd have to set up a hearing for the enforcement.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We advertise
So
for
that's
an enforcement order.
Yeah. That's all I meant, because it's going to be a separate issue. Okay. All right. Anybody have anything? Courtney?
I realize that, technically we'd like to find an alternative location for this. I think when we look at this whole project, I think we have to consider what in totality minimizes the potential continued disturbance in these resource areas. And if you look at it from that standpoint, given the amount of traffic and everything, I'd be inclined to say that it would be permittable to put that kayak rack in the area they're proposing, simply because that's going to minimize potential disturbance. I think you're going to get people walking through things and paths and so forth, and it'll become an impossible area to kind of control the reality. That would be my concern.
Okay. Peter?
I agree with Courtney. The people coming before us, the directors of the residents or whatever, have almost no control over the residents' use of the waterfront. And if we want to protect the environment as much as we can, we should agree with Courtney.
Anybody? Betsy?
So my feeling is you're putting extra structure on the beach, additional extra structure, and they're asking for, I can't remember how many, 60 more spaces this year. And, they have 150 people in the association, 150 homes in the association. And they have something like 90 now, and they're adding 60 more. Well, who's to say we don't need 60 more next year? I mean, at some point, there's limited resources. You're putting extra structure on the beach. And even more so, I mentioned this in one of the other hearings last week. I can assure you, if there's a major hurricane coming, the last thing people are going to be thinking about is clearing what they have down on the beach. They've got a lot bigger problems to worry about.
All right. Anybody else? Pat?
I am reminded what Jen said to us during one of the earlier hearings, which, they've altered a resource area, removed brush, and I don't know if they've leveled out the dune, but would we allow this structure in this location if it was in pristine condition? I don't think so. And I think what's going on is if we authorize this, we'll be rewarding them for doing an illegal alteration of a dune. And again, Betsy's point is really well made. it's going to be every 5 years they come in and say, we can't control the homeowners. We need 50 more slots for the kayaks. That's all I have to say.
All right. Anybody else?
It's just you, Jamie.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I don't think it should be in that dune. So
I'll put a positive motion on the table, and then people can vote as they like.
Yep.
I'll put a positive motion on the table to issue an order of conditions allowing this rack.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions, kind of sort of as discussed. And I'll start the vote because I'll be the bad guy. I vote no. Pat?
No.
Peter?
Yes.
Steve? Oh, Steve, no, I'm sorry. Betsy?
So.
Courtney?
Heard, yes.
All right, it's 3-2. It does not pass. All right, next up. Kevin Clower II, trustee, 18 Willis Lane, nominee trust, 18 Willis Lane, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, this is to restore the violation. They filed the notice. So one, we're going to make a finding and incorporate the enforcement matter into this order of conditions. We should put in a date certain that the plantings need to go in. What does the board feel like putting in for a date certain?
What do you recommend?
Maury, where are you? There you are, planting this kind of planting plan. End of June, kind of in the earlier spring and summer to get it in, or?
Or you're mute.
Yeah, I'm mute. Yeah, I would say June at the latest. I would like, you're getting into July and August, drought, hot.
May?
May.
By the time we get this out, it'll be a week or so. So it'll give them about 2 months to incorporate this plan.
Yeah, by Memorial Day weekend, that's the end of May.
And then we'll have the monitoring reports. And do we remember, are we putting a little split rail on this one, a little single rail?
Yes.
I think we
Single
are.
rail.
Yeah.
So you want to do the metal edging, which they can do that too, but it should be single rail fence.
Okay. All right.
Anybody have anything else? All right.
So we're all on this except poor Steve.
Except for Steve, yep.
Well, there's lighting on this too along the edging.
Oh, that's
And
right.
I think Maury asked for it to be
Downward light.
directed
Downward.
downward.
Yeah.
And you said monitoring reports, correct? Did I hear
Yes,
that?
I did.
Thank you. All right, anything else?
I'll
All
make a
right.
motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Heard, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Heard, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter.
Walsh, aye.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Dick J. Boss, 203 Chappaqua Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This is the installation of the D-Night at The house that they are raising up on Pilings, it was a requirement by the Board of Health that was missed and discovered at the building permit process. So they're putting the D-night in the front yard.
I move to issue an order as discussed.
Or a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. If there's nothing further. All right, Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Brewer Crane Family Trust, 26 Juniper Point Road, Woods Hole, Falmouth, Mass.
That was all of the different grading and the drainage structure, and then the additional mitigation. Am I missing anything, Alyssa?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry.
No. I don't think we have really any special conditions, just add mitigation. They were creating the more parking spaces. They were doing a little bit of grading, and they were sinking in some drainage.
Okay. Anybody have anything they'd like to add?
I'll move
All
to
right.
issue an order as discussed.
Arlo
Pat
Hawks.
second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. There's nothing else. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued an order of conditions. Now we go back to continued hearings under an enforcement order.
I'll
And
move
it's
to untable
18 Willis. All right, we have a motion on table.
I'll second. Gladfelder.
All right, we have a motion and a second on table 18 Willis Lane. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks Eye.
Pat,
RSI.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have untabled 18 Willis Lane. Jen,
So if
what's
we
the
could
proper procedure?
Yeah, so Pat, help me out here. If we've already addressed, if we've issued the orders or voted the order of conditions, we're incorporating this enforcement matter into that order of conditions. Procedurally, what do we do with this now?
You issue the order of conditions with it incorporated in, and in the enforcement order, there should be a date specific. And I think we
Okay.
already discussed that, you know, when they have to have those plantings done.
Do we just close?
I'll review the document when you're done with it.
Okay.
I think it's, once you start writing it, it's gonna make sense.
Oh, I know it's already going into my brain that way, but I just want to know what we do with this agenda item. Do we just close it? And
Yeah,
I'll
the
just
enforcement
make a
order
motion.
issued.
Okay.
I'll just make a motion that we issue this enforcement order,
okay, through the order of conditions.
through the order of conditions.
Okay.
That's my motion.
I seconded it.
All right, what she said. All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an enforcement order tied to the order of conditions for the NOI. How about that, huh?
That's good. I'm sure
Yeah.
that was good for Kristen.
Yeah, wasn't that? Yeah. Yeah. All right. Betsy,
Gladfelder, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Hello, Hawks Eye.
Pat,
Harris, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
And I,
It is unanimous. That is all we have, folks.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Gladfelder, aye.
Bird, aye. My cat.
Matthews,
only.
aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Hello, Hawks Eye.
Harris, aye.
Walsh, aye.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good
Mr.
night,
Chairman,
everybody.
can I ask you something?
Absolutely.